13 million people's jobs depend on small businesses. Now, we hear from government all the time, we've told those banks they've got to lend to small businesses, but it's just not coming through the other side at the moment. What's causing the bottleneck?
First of all, there is lending going on by the banks. There is, as part of the agreements that the government has struck with the banks, very clear, legally binding lending agreements. And we're talking about, in the case of our RBS, a £25 billion lending agreement, £16 billion of which is for business lending. And the same goes for Lloyds, although not quite on the same scale. Now, this is very important. That the availability of funds is there, but there are two caveats. One is, the funds can be available, but the judgment and the choice of what credit or what lending facilities to extend to which businesses remains with the banks. I mean, the government can't substitute the bank's role in taking these lending decisions, even though we can insist on the overall scale of lending availability that is put in place. But what I am worried about is that it is the more risky, early stage, more innovative businesses on which the banks are not prepared to back their judgment on the scale and to the extent that we need to see that happening, because they become very prudent. I mean, you might say not before time that they're becoming very prudent, but the key point here is that if we do not back the riskier, earlier stage innovative businesses, where are the seeds and the acorns that we're going to be able to plant now to see the sort of big business oaks growing in the future? But the other issue is this: it's not just a question of supply by the banks of lending; it's demand. I mean, we are seeing businesses themselves, in some cases, becoming more sort of cautious, more risk averse about obtaining the lending from the banks because of the recession. And what I'm saying to them is, actually, if you look at it, the recession is not a bad time to be building your business, because you have to be in place to take advantage of the upturn when it comes.
Absolutely, and up and down the country I'm hearing people saying that actually the banks have gone from one extreme to the other. They've gone from throwing money around the place to actually being overcautious with small businesses.
You cannot generalise in quite that way. It's not all small or medium-sized businesses. It's those which, in the judgment of the banks, are more on the innovative side and more risky, or in sectors, and I don't have to name them, but we know where they are, where the greatest fall in demand has taken place as a result of the recession, and therefore the banks consider that SMEs in these sectors are not such a good bet. Where I want to see a difference, though, is not only in the behaviour of the banks, it's the behaviour of larger companies paying the invoices of SMEs. I launched this campaign before Christmas. I now have about 100 large companies signed up to pledge, early, proper paying of invoices, prompt payment of their supply chain businesses' bills. And in some cases, larger firms have got to see where they can give particular assistance at a particular time to a company in their supply chain, where the banks aren't going to step in, where these are perfectly viable businesses, and but where if they are lost, will create a major hole or gap in the supply chain, which it's the larger companies themselves will suffer from in due course. So it's in everyone's interests to make sure the supply chain is supported, and that SMEs are not, viable SMEs, which play a key role in these supply chains, aren't allowed simply to to become casualties of the current recession.
Okay, so you're telling us it's actually more difficult to lend now because of the recession to small businesses, and we can understand that. But you also said it really was important that the banks do start lending to that early start-up businesses.
To do so more. It's not that they're not doing so at all, but they've got to do it more.
Well, we'll leave that one there, but because we've gone forever on it.